3 weeks, maybe a month before Soundwave Festival last year in Australia.
Like January, I guess.
Yeah,
probably.
And I came in. Travis, at the time, Travis was in the band, and he said he wasn't going to be able to go, so I filled in for him, and everything went really well while we were in Australia.
Yeah.
And the shows were really awesome. Everything sounded great. Performance was really good.
Just kind of kept Blake around, and then that was that. You know, it went off awesome. So we're like, Blake, if you just want to play with us, that'd be fucking sick. And honestly, like me and my roommate at the time, Chris, he plays drums for I Set My Friends on Fire. We were just like, you know, I'd known Blake for years. You know, we like lived in Valdosta, we were the same town. We're like, Blake should live with us, you know. And he'd just been hanging out. We're like, it makes sense, you know. He shreds a guitar. We should put him in the band. It makes sense.
So was that intimidating coming into Soundwave? Because that's like
extremely
huge festival.
Extremely. Well, the first night there was probably 3,000 to 4,000 people, and it was the first festival I'd ever played.
Yeah.
You know, I had been in bands before then, touring small shows and stuff like that, but when you step on stage in front of 3,000 to 4,000 people, yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking the first time.
I was wasted that night.
I was too.
You
but
were
still
nervous. I was trash.
Still nervous.
So a lot has totally changed since the last time I saw you.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot, dude.
But for the better, I think. We're really stoked. We recorded a new record, and it's probably our favorite record. As a whole, everything we've done, we're really, really, really amped on the new one, and it's gotten a lot of good feedback. So, I don't know. We change always, you know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't always go over that well with fans, but at the same time, it's what bands do. You know, you get older, you change. What can you do about it? I can't pretend to be 15 years old. I'm not going to pretend to be 15 years old. Just going to do what we want, and that's that. Yeah. You like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Well, prior to going into recording, what did you guys want to get from this record?
We wanted to put something out that was, I guess, a little abrasive, something that went against the grain, something that made people turn their heads a little bit and say, what the fuck is going on there?
Dealt with a lot of shit, you know? We've kind of been from, you know, when you're starting out as a band to being on a major record label. There's a whole lot of space in between, you know? And this record is all about that. It's all about the way things change. It's all about the way the industry is. It's all about the way we feel as human beings, I guess.
Yeah.
We really wanted to put out a record that was just fucking real. You know, just how we felt, how we see things, and how things are to us. And just wanted to be real with it. We wanted kids who were like, oh yeah, I hear that, I relate to that. And, you know, that's what we wanted to do. Just put out a record that was real. Just straight up everything we wanted, we produced it ourselves. And we just wanted it to be exactly to the T what we wanted. And we haven't really ever gotten to do that before. So this was our opportunity to be us, I guess, you know.
What happened with the last label, Shirtown?
We got into it was, I don't know, that was on that's a major label, you know, it's a different experience, you know, and I feel like when you're a band like us who has been just doing underground stuff, we're a band, we do what we do, and that's it, going to like, okay, we'll try this out, you know, it was like, it's a different level, you know, we're not Linkin Park, we're not, you know, Incubus, that's a different thing, and we don't necessarily play that kind of music. So at the same time, it's like when you have the machine that powers bands that are radio bands working for you as an independent band, there's a whole lot of clash, I guess. You know, there's a whole lot of like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then a whole lot of them on our aspect, like, you should do this and you should do this. And I was thinking, like, that's not what we do, you know? So I guess the chemistry of it didn't really work out the best, but at the same time, we did a whole lot of fucking cool shit that we would have never gotten to do in the, you know, anywhere else. We got to tour with Kiss. We played shows with Rage Against the Machine. We've been out with Incubus. We played shit with Metallica, you know. That's stuff you don't get to do as an independent band that we got a taste of, you know. So I guess in the whole circle, as if you look at, like, you know, our year or two on a major record label, we got to do a whole lot of cool shit that we are amped on. So there's no regrets, really. But at the same time, as a band, we don't really feel like that's where we belong, you know. We kind of feel like the level we're on right now is what we do, you know what I mean? We're not trying to, like, write music for billions of people. We just write music for us. And if, you know, a few people like it, then cool. If they don't, then it's cool. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? We're not out to impress anybody. We're just doing what we do.
What was it like with Rage and Incubus?
It was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen in my
Was
life.
it?
Yeah. Yeah, like I grew up listening to that shit, so that in itself was like, and I'd never even seen him before. If we didn't get to play with him, I never would have seen him, you know, because you go see Rage Against the Machine, it's not a cheap adventure, you know, it's something like, I can't spend, you know, $80 on a concert ticket. I'm a musician. I can't spend anything on a concert ticket. That was awesome. That was a very, very, very cool experience. Those guys are awesome. We had to meet them and talk to them. It was really cool. I'll remember that forever, you know. Those are just, it's the stuff you grew up with. It's different, you know, it has a different impact on you than other things, I guess.
How did Rise Records come into the picture?
It just came.
Just fell into the lap, I guess. I guess they would.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was the first place we went. We had that. We were like, hey, let's. We hadn't recorded at all. We had a couple of demos we had done a little bit of, and it was kind of like, that's a label to us, I guess, as artists we are. That's one of the labels, like on the independent level, that's really just kicking the shit out of everything right now.
Has a great reputation.
A great reputation.
The consolidation of everything, the way the label works, it's just phenomenal.
It's a family. As far as even management, like the management we have now works with a lot of Rise bands. The booking agent we have now works with a lot of Rise bands. Even business management, even when it comes down to the shit that has nothing to do with music, it still works with Rise bands. So it's kind of like consolidated everything it takes to be in a touring band, I guess, and put it into one family, which is ideally works better than anything else, I guess. And it's also on a smaller scale, so you don't have to deal with all the crazy, insane stuff as like me as a musician doesn't really even understand, you know, like the business end of it. They work on a very cool level as far as they really push the internet, which is something like previous labels we've been on didn't really do, and they really do, like, I don't know, they're really in touch with what's going on now, I guess, and we really wanted to be on something that was really current. We thought that would be good for our band. As a band that's been around for a while, we needed something current to work for us. We needed a machine that was current to help us do what we do, you know, and so Rise has been awesome to us, and I'm stoked. I mean, definitely the next record we do, I would love for it to be on Rise if they'll still have us, you know.
Yeah.
Yesterday was our first day with this record, and so I hope everything went well. I don't know. Haven't heard from them. I don't know. Maybe they fired us already. I don't know.
How old are you guys?
I'm 27.
25.
27, 25.
Mm-hmm.
As you guys get older, your perspective of music, has it changed?
Of course, it always changes. The older you get, it's always going to change, and I guess you reach a certain point in life when you, I don't know, you start looking at music. You want to see progression more, and you want to see bands move forward. You want to see a different style of music. You want to hear something you've never heard before. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the biggest part. That's probably the biggest thing that changes with age.
You automatically look at everything differently. Like the music we listen to isn't like, I guess, the genre of music we play, you know? So you always look, I don't know, I think the best records that will ever exist till the end of time were written 30 years ago, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, you automatically look at things differently. It's very seldom that we see like a new band that we're like, yeah, this is great, because for us, like, a lot of new bands are all exactly the same, you know? And it's kind of like, it's the way, not necessarily their faults, it's the way the industry is
pushing things.
It's like you don't have a choice anymore, you know what I mean?
And they just want a cookie cutter.
Yeah, it's cookie cutter. It's what works. It's like in the 90s when, you know, NSYNC came out, all of a sudden 10 other bands that are exactly the same come out, because it's all different. Every different record label had an NSYNC, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like that now, which sucks as far as music goes. But at the same time, it's like that's the nature of the business. You can't help it. We're fortunate enough that we've been doing this long enough that we don't have to abide by the rules of the industry. We do whatever the fuck we want. It doesn't matter. If people hate us, then they hate us. If they love us, then they love us. It's just been that way the whole time. We're not necessarily like, we've got our fan base, you know. If we don't have to, like, you know, manipulate things into what's going to be cool next, because I'm 27. I don't know what the fuck's going to be cool next. What I listened to was written 20 years ago. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not a kid. I don't know what kids like. I'm not going to pretend to know what kids like, you know. You do what you do.
Speaking of kids, I want to go back in time and talk about you guys, because you guys have known each other for a while.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Since you were kids. When did you guys meet?
It was I don't even know. It was 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
He was
maybe?
in a band.
We were in a band together.
And but the first
before
you were in a band and I was in a band, both not the band we're in now.
Yeah.
And we played a show together at a fucking skating rink somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
My hometown, Bainbridge,
Yeah.
Georgia.
I
Small
remember-
town, 15,000 population right there.
We played, and I remember he was like, "That dude shreds." How it ended up the way where we were in a band together before we were in the band together that we're in now, I don't really even remember.
I don't either.
But it worked out. I don't know. When you grow up in Georgia, you know people all over, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
you
It
cross
kinda worked
paths
out.
with
You cross
other
paths a lot,
Georgians
yeah.
quite often.
And it was cool, man. We partied a lot. That's kind of how it started, was partying, I guess.
I want to know your most memorable party. Your most memorable.
Can I say
party
it? I remember
experience.
this. The first time Blake was in the
mine
band
too,
I
I
was
think.
in, we went and grew up in a small town, and the band I was in was like, it was popular around Georgia at the time. And the town we grew up in was smaller, so all those younger kids were like, yeah, this is the greatest band ever, even though we were nothing. We went to this party, and Blake here, it was like in the woods somewhere. We had like bonfires. We were out in the middle of nowhere. And he just starts boozing. He was fucking wasted.
To be fair, he brings me to this party
I took
at least
him there,
a half an hour early.
Yeah.
At least a half an hour
It was
early.
all intentional. But he's fucking wasted. And I remember he's sitting in my Jeep, like, passed out drunk almost with, like, his cell phone. And, it was like, whatever. We all end up sleeping, like, on the ground or in the cars or whatever because we were way too wasted to even try to drive anywhere. And I remember leaving the next day, and this was, like, the first time me and this dude even hung out. We were like, oh, we go home. And he's like, oh, man, I lost my cell phone. So I was like, ugh. In my mind, in reality, I was like, oh, yeah, we'll go back and get it. But in my mind, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, come on, man. You don't leave your cell phone here. You gotta drive all the way back to this fucking nowhere to get the cell phone. So we get there, and we're looking for it everywhere. And this is a party, like, in the middle of the woods. So we're, like, literally looking everywhere. Turns out the cell phone was on the damn seat the whole time. But that was our first, like, real, like, hangout together, I guess.
Me basically making a fool out of myself and throwing gas on a fire and drinking way too much.
Partying hard.
That's what
It was a good time.
made it.
What happened to Travis?
Yeah.
It's like last time we're talking about Sonny, and now we're talking about
it's always
Travis.
something. And the next time it'll probably be me, Somebody will be talking about what happened to Manning. Yeah, he's a farmer now. He bought some horses or something. Not really. No, I don't know. I think of it. It was honestly very, very, very similar to the Sonny situation. Been a band for years. Honestly, a lot. I guess as far as our career goes, on bands today that exist on in the genre we do, the life expectancy is sadly really short, just because of the nature of the business, I guess. And we've been doing it for a long time. And just like Sonny, it was just time where it was like you kind of get to a point in your career where you're like, this not working right, And that was the same situation. It was just kind of like, for instance, Travis was the reason Blake's in the band. It was just like we were going on tour, and he was like, I don't want to go. So it was kind of like you're in the band, you have to, And he didn't go, and we took Blake, and we came back and played a little bit with 3 guitarists just to try to make it work, and it still didn't really click the way we felt like a band should, Mm-hmm. We all live together. We're always together, literally always together. So it makes, you kind of have to all be best buds. And if you don't click exactly right all the time, then you come into issues that make it where you're just like, this doesn't really work right. And that was kind of how that ended up,
Butt heads too often.
Yeah, and we just kind of got to where it was like, we just need to part ways, I guess.
Why didn't you want to go to Soundwave?
I don't really know. Honestly, that was a thing.
He was doing some production work. I know he was trying to work with some bands.
He does a lot of studio stuff, and that was kind of where he was leaning toward, And in all honesty, respect that 100%. And if I was like that, I would expect respect. You know what I mean? It's kind of like we've never been a band as much member changes as we've had. We've never been a band where we were like, if somebody was like, I want to leave, we were like, that sucks. Fuck that. We've always been like, we've all been doing this a long time, and it wears on you, and sometimes you get to a point. I mean, I've been to that point where I was like, I kind of want to just take a break, you know, and it was kind of the same situation where it just got to a point where it was like it was time to separate, and right before this record we did that, and it was, you know, it was what it was. I don't think there's any bad blood, you know. We've never really been a band that was like, fuck you, you're fired, so it's just kind of, you respect what people want, you know. There's no sense in trying to, like, if someone wants to leave, you're like pissed or anything, or if, you know, it is what it is. So it just kind of ended up that way, I guess, you know.
So where do you guys want to go from here?
I'm going to tour with Mastodon. That's where I want to go from there. Tour with Mastodon.
That'd be a great tour.
That's fucking sweet.
Yeah, I would love to tour with Mastodon. That's one of my favorite bands. Or Tool.
Definitely.
I don't know who gets to tour with Tool.
I don't either.
I bet Mastodon gets to tour with Tool.
I think they just tour with Slayer.
They do. And Metallica and shit. I don't know. I'd like to tour with bands I love.
Yeah.
You know, Tool, Mastodon. Mastodon, yeah! Woo! Exactly. Those guys are from Georgia. We should work that out.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows where it goes from here? That's the one thing is you really have no idea.
Just
ever.
keep doing
you just
what you're
go.
doing.
I don't know. You never know when to stop, and you just go, no matter where it takes you, I guess.
Yeah.